The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets in the interrogation room of the Elmwood Police Department, casting jagged shadows across the scarred metal table. 17-year-old Alex Rivera sat handcuffed to the chair, his knuckles white against the cold steel, staring down a cop whose badge gleamed like a taunt under the harsh glow. "You expect me to believe that crap?" Officer Harlan barked, slamming a fist on the table, his laugh a guttural blade slicing through the stale air. "Special Forces? Kid, you're a fairy tale spinner. Probably dreamed it up while prancing around with your boyfriend." Alex's heart hammered, not from fear, but from the familiar sting of words that had chased him since middle school hallways reeked of whispered slurs and slammed lockers. He swallowed the lump in his throat, tasting copper from where he'd bitten his lip earlier that night, right before everything shattered. It had started as a stupid dare, a stolen kiss under the bleachers at the homecoming game, the kind of reckless spark that lit up the dark corners of his hidden world. But now, dragged here on some trumped-up vandalism charge after a brawl he didn't start, Alex had let slip the one story he never told. The truth about his dad, the ghost in the family photos, the Delta Force colonel who'd vanished into classified shadows years ago. Officer Harlan leaned in, his breath sour with cheap coffee and cheaper bigotry, eyes narrowing like he was sizing up prey. "Look at you, all wide-eyed and dramatic. Special Forces dad swoops in to save the day? That's Hollywood bullshit, not Elmwood, Ohio. Your old man's probably some deadbeat flipping burgers in Cleveland." The words landed like punches, each one echoing the taunts Alex had endured from Harlan's son, Jake, the golden boy quarterback who'd cornered him after that kiss, fists flying, screaming about freaks ruining the team. Alex had fought back, not with his scrawny arms, but with the fire his dad had drilled into him during those rare summer visits. "Stand tall, son. The world's got wolves. Don't let MCU flinch." But Alex was flinching now, the cuffs biting into his wrists as memories flooded in unbidden. He thought of Micah, the boy with the crooked smile and calloused hands from fixing engines at his uncle's garage. They'd met last spring at the county fair, Alex nursing a funnel cake under the Ferris wheel lights, while Micah sketched wildflowers in a battered notebook. "You're like a storm cloud with sunshine peeking through," Micah had said, his voice low and steady, fingers brushing Alex's in a way that sent electricity crackling up his arm. That first touch had been tentative, hidden behind hay bales and stolen glances, but it bloomed into something fierce. Late-night texts under the covers, whispered promises against the rumble of freight trains passing the tracks near Alex's trailer park home. Micah was out there now, probably pacing the waiting room down the hall, his dark curls disheveled, those hazel eyes stormy with worry. They'd been planning to run, just the two of them after graduation. Chicago, maybe, where the streets pulsed with possibility and no one batted an eye at boys holding hands. But one wrong look from Jake Harlan at the game, one shift too many, and here Alex was, spilling his guts to a man who saw him as nothing more than a punchline. "Tell me again," Harlan sneered, flipping through Alex's file like it was yesterday's trash. "Your daddy's some elite soldier, off playing Rambo in the desert? And he taught you how to, what, dodge bullies with ninja moves?" The cop's chuckle grated, pulling at the frayed edges of Alex's resolve. He wanted to scream that it was true. Colonel Rafael Rivera, callsign Ghost, the man who'd survived ambushes in Fallujah and extracted assets from Taliban strongholds, only to come home a shadow, haunted by ghosts no amount of therapy could exorcise. Dad had left when Alex was 12, not out of abandonment, but necessity. A classified op that demanded silence. A family severed for national security. Letters came sporadically, postmarked from nowhere, filled with coded advice. Breathe through the fear, Mijo. It's just wind in the sails. Alex lifted his chin, meeting Harlan's gaze with the steel his father had forged in him. "Mock all you want, sir, but he's real. And when he hears about this..." He trailed off, the unfinished threat hanging like smoke. Harlan's face twisted into a mask of disdain, the kind worn by small-town enforcers who policed hearts as harshly as they did streets. Elmwood was that slice of middle America, cornfields stretching to infinity, Friday night lights as religion, and an undercurrent of judgment that drowned out rainbows. Alex had learned early to hide, to laugh off the fag, scrawled on his locker, to date no one until Micah crashed into his orbit like a meteor. The door to the station lobby creaked open down the hall, muffled voices filtering through the walls. Micah's urgent tone clashing with the desk sergeant's bored drawl. Alex strained to hear, imagining Micah's broad shoulders tense, his grease-stained jeans hugging legs that had carried them both through moonlit fields, racing heartbeats sinking under star-pricked skies. Their first real kiss had been there, in the dew-kissed grass, Micah's lips tasting of spearmint and courage, his hands gentle on Alex's waist as if holding fragile glass. "I got you," Micah had murmured, and in that moment, Alex believed the world could bend toward kindness. But kindness was in short supply tonight. Harlan shoved back from the table, the chair screeching like a wounded animal. "All right, story time's over, princess. You're spending the night in holding. Maybe it'll toughen you up." He yanked Alex to his feet, the cuffs rattling a dirge, and marched him toward the bullpen. The air grew thicker with the scent of stale donuts and printer ink, fluorescent hell giving way to the dimmer glow of the holding area. Alex's mind raced, piecing together escape routes his dad had taught him in play. Observe, adapt, evade. But reality was a heavier chain. As they passed the front desk, Micah surged forward, only to be blocked by a burly uniform. "Alex, tell me you're okay." His voice cracked, raw with the fear of losing what they built brick by fragile brick. Alex twisted, catching a glimpse of those eyes, pleading, fierce, and forced a nod. "I'm good, babe. Just stay strong." The endearment slipped out, a quiet rebellion, and Harlan's grip tightened like a vice. "Watch your mouth, boy," the cop growled, shoving Alex onward. But in that heartbeat, as Micah's face crumpled with helpless rage, Alex felt a surge of something unbreakable. Love, maybe, or the echo of his father's voice. Fight smart, not hard. He wouldn't break here, not under this man's boot. Not when the door to the world outside still swung on its hinges, waiting for the storm to break. Little did Harlan know, the storm was already brewing. Unseen in the parking lot, headlights pierced the midnight fog. A black SUV with tinted windows, pulling up silent as a specter. Inside, Colonel Rafael Rivera gripped the wheel, his jaw set like granite, a duffel bag of ghosts at his feet. The call from an old contact in D.C. had come at dawn. Trouble in Elmwood, his boy in cuffs. Rafael had been deep in the Rockies, debriefing a Black Ops team, when the encrypted line buzzed. Now, crossing state lines on a whisper of paternal fury, he was here, not as the legend, but as a father reclaiming what bureaucracy had stolen. The colonel stepped out, his frame still corded with the muscle of missions long buried, boots crunching gravel with purposeful stride. The station door loomed, a portal to reckoning, and Raphael paused only to flash his credentials at the night shift sentry, a laminated shield that silenced questions before they formed. Inside, the air hummed with oblivious routine, but Raphael's senses, honed by sandstorms and sniper fire, prickled. He heard the echo of his son's voice first, defiant, unbroken, and followed it like a beacon through the labyrinth of desks. Harlan was uncuffing Alex in the holding cell when the door to the bullpen burst open with the authority of a thunderclap. Raphael filled the frame, his presence sucking oxygen from the room, eyes scanning like radar. "Son, threat, exit." "Colonel Rafael Rivera," he stated, voice a low rumble that brooked no interruption, flashing ID that gleamed with stars and seals. "I'm here for my son." And an explanation. The station fell into stunned hush, officers freezing mid-sip, radios crackling into irrelevance. Harlan whirled, his smirk evaporating like mist under noon sun, replaced by the pallor of a man staring down a loaded barrel. Alex's breath caught, tears pricking unbidden as recognition dawned. Dad. Here, real as the scars on his knuckles. Micah, from the lobby shadows, watched wide-eyed, a grin breaking through his fear like dawn. But Harlan recovered with bluster, stepping forward with forced swagger. "Colonel? This some kind of joke?" The kid's spinning yarns about you being Rambo. We got him on assault. Assault? Raphael's gaze pinned him, cold as Arctic wind. Uncuff him. Now. It wasn't a request. It was command, laced with the weight of classified files that could unravel careers. Harlan hesitated, fingers fumbling at the keys, and in that pause, the room tilted. Alex rubbed his wrists, stepping into his father's orbit. The prodigal returned not in defeat, but victory's shadow. As the cuffs clattered free, Raphael pulled Alex into a bear hug, brief but ironclad, the scent of pine and gun oil a time machine to safer days. You held the line, Mijo? He whispered, pride roughening his tone. Micah hovered at the edge, uncertainty flickering until Alex reached out, lacing fingers. A silent "we're okay." Harlan sputtered protests, but Raphael turned, his voice dropping to velvet over steel. You mocked my boy, called him a liar. Care to repeat that to my face? The cop's Adam's apple bobbed, words dying in his throat. Outside, sirens wailed distant. But here, justice brewed personal and unyielding. This was just the spark. The fire would consume old wounds, forge new paths, and test the bonds of love against the grindstone of truth. The bullpen lights seemed to dim under the colonel's shadow, as if the very bulbs bowed to his unspoken rank. Officer Harlan backed up a step, his chest puffing out in futile defense, but Rafael Rivera didn't advance. He didn't need to. His presence was a force field, invisible tripwires of authority that made grown men shrink. Alex stood transfixed, the hug's warmth lingering like a talisman against the chill of the concrete floors. Dad was here, not as the myth he'd spun to survive lonely nights, but flesh and blood. The lines around his eyes etched deeper by years Alex had only glimpsed in grainy video calls. Micah slipped in from the lobby, weaving past gawking deputies like a ghost in flannel. His hand finding Alex's in a squeeze that said, I told you we'd make it. Raphael's gaze flicked to him, assessing, not judging, and a ghost of a smile tugged at his mustache. This the one who called? He asked Alex, voice pitched low for family ears only. Alex nodded, heat rising in his cheeks, the vulnerability of naming it aloud. Boyfriend, still foreign on his tongue. But in this den of lions, with Dad as shield, it felt like armor. Harlan found his voice, oily with recovery. Look, Colonel, sir, no offense meant. Kid came in mouthing off about some hero daddy, and after what his friend did at the game. He gestured vaguely at Micah, who stiffened, jaw clenching like a vice. The friend landed like a slur, but Raphael's eyes narrowed, dissecting the subtext with surgical precision. What happened at the game? Raphael's tone was deceptively calm, the kind that preceded briefings where lives hung on details. Alex hesitated, the words sticking like burrs. Jake Harlan's crew circling, slurs flying, fists connecting with ribs that still ached. Micah jumped in, his Ohio drawl steady despite the tremor. It was nothing, sir. Just some idiots talking trash. Alex stood up for himself. That's all. But Raphael wasn't buying the gloss. He turned to the desk sergeant, a portly vet named Kowalski with a mustache that drooped like wilted ferns. Pull the reports. All of them. Kowalski jumped, fingers flying over keys, the printer whirring to life like a guilty conscience. Pages spat out. Incident logs from the field, witness statements blurred by bias, Jake Harlan's name bolded in complaint after complaint. Vandalism, harassment, a trail of unchecked privilege. Harlan's face reddened to beetroot. This is procedure, Colonel. The boy's a troublemaker. Queer kids stirring up the team, distracting my son, hung unsaid, but Raphael caught it, his laugh a dry crack in the tension. Your son. He let it simmer. Then, Jake Harlan, right? Quarterback. Saw his highlights on the local news last fall. The praise was bait, and Harlan bit, nodding with paternal pride. Good kid. Strong arm. Strong arm, Raphael echoed, stepping closer, his voice dropping to that interrogator's timbre that had broken alibis in Baghdad. Funny how that translates to hospital visits for half the JV line. I've read the files on route, encrypted access, courtesy of a friend at Langley. Pattern of aggression, targeting, differences. The last word dripped implication, and Harlan's bluster deflated, sweat beading on his brow. Alex watched, pulse thundering, as the power flipped like a switch. This was Dad in action, not the explosive raids of lore, but the quiet demolition of facades. Micah's thumb traced circles on Alex's palm, a grounding rhythm amid the storm. They'd talked about this once, sprawled on Micah's truck hood under a harvest moon, stars winking like conspirators. Your old man's a legend, Micah had said, awed. But you're the hero in your own story. Alex had laughed it off, but now, with Harlan squirming, he felt the truth settle. Heroes weren't born in foxholes. They were forged in the fight to be seen. Kowalski cleared his throat, sliding the stack across the desk. Sir, it's all here. No priors on the Rivera boy, but Harlan Jr. He's got a docket. Raphael scanned it, flipping pages with calloused efficiency, his expression unchanging as a mountain face. Misdemeanors, assaults swept under rugs. Sound familiar, officer? Harlan sputtered. This is a witch hunt. My boy's future. Future. Raphael cut in, voice sharpening to bayonet edge. Your boy's future hinges on learning accountability, not Daddy's badge. He turned to Alex, softening like dawn on frost. Mijo, tell me what happened. From the start. The words tumbled then, a dam breaking. The bleacher's shadow, Jake's breath hot with whiskey stolen from his father's stash, the shove that sent Alex sprawling into gravel. He saw me with Micah, Alex admitted, voice steadying under his father's gaze. Called us abominations. Said Elmwood didn't need our kind poisoning the well. Micah nodded, adding details. The crowd's roar masking the blows. A teammate pulling Jake off too late. The principal's boys will be boys, dismissal come Monday. Raphael listened, unblinking. The room's hush amplifying each syllable. When Alex finished, silence stretched, taut as a tripwire. Then Harlan lunged verbally. Lies! My Jake wouldn't. Enough. Raphael's command silenced him. Then he addressed the room at large, deputies hanging on every word. This ends tonight. Charges dropped on Alexander Rivera. Full investigation into Jacob Harlan, starting with a psych eval and community service. I'll have my people follow up. My people. The phrase conjured specters of suits in Langley, black helicopters on horizons, and Harlan knew it, slumping against a desk like a punctured tire. Alex exhaled, the weight lifting, but questions swirled. Why now? Dad's ops were ironclad. Family was a liability. Yet here he was, breaching protocol for a son he'd barely seen. As paperwork shuffled, releases signed in triplicate, Raphael pulled him aside, Micah trailing like a loyal shadow. I got the call from your mom, he explained, glancing at the lobby where Maria Rivera waited, her rosary beads clicking softly. She said you needed me, broke every rule to get here. Gratitude choked Alex, mingling with the ache of years lost. I thought you were gone for good this time. Raphael's hand on his shoulder was anchor. Never, son. Classified means quiet, not absent. Micah hovered, awkward in the intimacy, until Raphael extended a hand. Micah, right? Thanks for having his back. Means more than medals. The shake was firm, sealing an unspoken alliance, and as they stepped into the night air, crisp with autumn bite and distant bonfire smoke, Alex felt the pieces shift. Elmwood streets stretched quiet, sodium lamps haloing porches where flags snapped in breeze. But peace was fragile. Jake's crew lurked in shadows, whispers of revenge already seeding. They piled into the SUV, Maria claiming shotgun, her dark eyes misty with pride. Micah squeezed in back with Alex, their knees brushing in silent vow. Where to? Raphael asked, engine purring to life. Alex glanced at Micah, then out at the fading station. Home, but not forever. The drive wound through corn-stubbled fields, radio humming low with country ballads of lost loves and open roads. Conversation flowed halting. Raphael probing school, dreams. Alex skirting the deeper cuts of isolation, the closet's claustrophobia. Micah chimed in with garage tales, his laugh easing tensions, painting pictures of carburetors and late shifts that funded their escape fund. But as Elmwood's water tower loomed, a rusted sentinel etched with class of '09, Raphael's phone buzzed, encrypted tones slicing the warmth. He glanced at the screen, jaw tightening. "Duty calls," he muttered, pulling over on a gravel shoulder. Alex's stomach nodded. This was the betrayal's shadow, the job that always won. "Go," Alex said, masking hurt with maturity. "We'll be okay." Raphael searched his face, then nodded, pulling a key from his chain. "A spare to a safe house in Pittsburgh, coordinates in code. Use this if things heat up. And me, Joe, I'm proud of you both." He drove off into the dark, taillights winking farewell, leaving the truck's cab heavy with unspoken fears. Maria sighed, crossing herself. "He's fighting his war. You fight yours." Micah's arm slipped around Alex, solid as oak. "We will. Together." Yet as they rolled toward the trailer park, a flicker in the rearview, a pickup tailing too close, ignited dread. Jake's truck, jacked on lifts, grill like bared teeth. The pursuit began, headlights stabbing night, Elmwood's underbelly rising to claim its toll. The engine roared as Micah floored it, the old Ford pickup fishtailing on the Deuce-Lick road, cornstalk ghosts whipping past in a blur. Alex gripped the dash, heart slamming like a bass drum, Maria's prayers a murmured counterpoint in the passenger seat. "Faster," she urged, her voice steel beneath the faith. Eyes locked on the mirror where Jake Harlan's behemoth loomed, high beams blinding as accusations. This wasn't random. It was reckoning. Jake's ego bruised by his father's fall from grace, channeled through vengeance's accelerator. "Call 911, Micah barked, swerving around a pothole that jarred teeth. Alex fumbled his phone, signal bars mocking with two frail lines, dispatch's tinny voice crackling through static. "Elmwood PD, state your emergency." The irony burned, reporting to the same viper's nest, but Alex spat details. "Pursuit on County Road 17, black F-150 tailing aggressive. Tell Harlan Sr. it's his kid." Again. The operator's pause stretched eternal. Then, "Units en route. Stay on the line." But Micah was already veering off-road, tires churning mud toward the old quarry. A moonlit crater his uncle used for parts salvage, riddled with escape paths only locals knew. The truck bounced, undercarriage scraping, as Jake closed gap, bumper kissing theirs in a metallic kiss of rage. Alex twisted, glimpsing Jake's silhouette, snarled face, passenger a burly lineman named Troy, fists pumping like pistons. "Why now?" Alex yelled over the din, wind howling through cracked windows. Micah's knuckles whitened on the wheel, jaw set in that determined line Alex loved. The one that said screw the odds. "Because we rattled the cage." His old man's untouchable rep? Cracked. Jake's lashing out. Maria clutched her purse, rosary forgotten, and from its depths pulled a canister. "Pepper spray, compact as sin. If they stop us, aim low," she instructed. Voice honed by single mom vigils outside bars where exes drowned regrets. Alex nodded, adrenaline sharpening senses. This was survival, Delta taught, the evasion drills Dad ran in backyards now real as the gravel spray. The quarry loomed, chain link fence sagging like tired bones, Micah gunning through a gap with a screech of metal on metal. Jake followed, undeterred. His truck's mass an advantage in open chase but liability in the labyrinth of pits and rusted machinery. Micah killed lights, plunging them into velvet dark broken only by moonlight silvering derelict cranes like skeletal sentinels. "Hold on," he warned, cutting sharp left into a service tunnel, engine echoing off concrete walls damp with seepage. Sirens wailed distant, a siren's song too slow, too tainted. Alex's mind raced to Dad. Adapt, evade, spotting a side fork, overgrown with brambles. There. The old Hall Road. Micah yanked wheel, branches clawing like talons, the truck shuddering as they burst into clearing ringed by sheer drops. Jake's lights swept wild, missing the turn, his vehicle slamming brakes too late. Tires locking, fishtailing into a guardrail with a crumple of fate. Dust settled, silence roaring louder than the chase. Micah eased forward, headlights pinning Jake's wreck. Hood accordioned, steam hissing like defeated breath. The quarterback stumbled out, blood trickling from brow, Troy groaning beside. No weapons, just Fury's wreckage, but eyes blazing with the zealot's fire. "You freaks think you can take my dad down?" Jake roared, staggering forward, fists balled. "Elmwood's mine." Alex slid out, Maria's spray in hand, Micah flanking like a shield. "It's over, Jake. Your games, your hate, done." But Jake lunged, wild haymaker glancing Alex's shoulder, pain blooming hot. Micah countered, tackling low, the two crashing to earth in a tangle of limbs and grunts. Farm boy strength versus gridiron bulk, rolling toward the quarry's lip. "Stop!" Maria's cry pierced, but Alex was already moving, Dad's voice in his ear. "Protect your own." He dove in, pepper spray hissing arc that caught Troy's charge, the lineman howling retreat. Jake twisted free, Micah's nose bloodied but unbowed, and for a heartbeat, the world balanced on brink. For souls teetering where grudges met gravity. Sirens crested then, red-blue strobing the night like Judgment's aurora. Harlan Sr. barreled from lead cruiser, face ashen, wrenching his son back with paternal vice. "What the hell, boy?" The words cracked, not thunder but fracture. The cops whirled splintering under paternal failure's weight. Deputies swarmed, cuffs clicking on wrists. Jake's this time, Troy's two statements taken in floodlit frenzy. In the chaos, Alex knelt by Micah, dabbing blood with shirt hem, apologies tumbling soft. "You didn't have to." Micah cut him off with a kiss, brief but fierce, uncaring of eyes. "Yeah, I did. For us." Maria watched, tears carving tracks, pride mingling with sorrow for the boy she'd raised into this storm. Harlan approached, hat in hand, the swagger stripped to supplicant. "Colonel's boy, this is on me." His voice hollowed, gaze sliding to Jake in zip ties, the mirror Alex had glimpsed earlier. Fathers failing sons in echoes. Raphael's influence lingered, unspoken, but Harlan extended hand. Charges mutual? Clean slate. Alex met his eyes, seeing not monster but man, broken by his own making. For tonight, but Jake needs help. Real help. Harlan nodded, swallow audible, and in that concession, betrayal's sting eased. Not forgiven, but understood, the human weave of flaw and fracture. Dawn crept as they drove home, quarry fading rearview, first light gilding fields gold. Micah crashed on the trailer couch, Alex curling beside, exhaustion's blanket heavy. Maria brewed coffee strong as resolve, her hand on Alex's head a benediction. "You chose love over fear. That's the real special forces." But peace was prelude. Morning brought ripples. School buzzed with whispers. Jake suspended, Harlan on leave pending review. Micah's uncle called, offering shop space in the city, a nudge toward dreams. And Dad, text pinged, coordinates updated, wheel in motion, proud. Yet undercurrents stirred. A letter arrived, postmarked DC, sealed with wax eagle. Raphael's formal request for family relocation. Classified perks unlocking doors to bases where rainbows flew flags. Temptation tugged, but Alex lingered on Micah's steady breath. The trailer's creak familiar as heartbeat. Weeks blurred. Counseling circles at school. Jake's reluctant apology scrawled in juvenile hall. Harlan volunteering at the LGBTQ center. Amends in action. Alex and Micah navigated the new normal. Handholds in hallways, cheers from unlikely allies. The town's slow thaw under scrutiny's sun. Romance deepened in quiet victories. Picnics by the river, where Micah sketched their future. Duplex in Chicago, Alex studying journalism to voice the silenced. Micah wrenching classics into art. But climax brewed in shadows. One frost-laced evening, as snow dusted evergreens, Alex found the betrayal's core. A flash drive in Dad's last care package, labeled Truth. Heart-pounding, he plugged it in, files unfolding like forbidden scrolls. Raphael's op logs, redacted but revealing, A mole in the ranks selling secrets. Dad's isolation ploy to protect them from crosshairs. Tears stung as pieces clicked. Dad's absence a shield, not abandonment. The Elmwood call a trap sprung early. He saved us twice, Alex whispered to Micah, curled in lamplight. Betrayal inverted. Not Dad's, but the system's. Love the counterstrike. The flash drive's glow cast ethereal blues across the trailer's thin walls. Secrets spilling like contraband whiskey. Names redacted to ghosts. Timelines threading from desert dunes to Ohio dirt. Alex scrolled, breath shallow. Micah's chin on his shoulder, a steady weight amid the vertigo. Your dad's a damn fortress? Micah murmured, awe threading his voice. Fingers tracing the screen's edge as if mapping escape routes etched in code. Raphael's final log entry burned brightest. Asset secured. Family thread intact. Recommend extraction. Mijo's light demands open skies. Attached, approvals from brass. Relocation greenlit. Chicago coordinates pinned to a progressive academy. Scholarships woven from vet funds. No more hiding. A life unclassified, where Alex could chase stories without fear's asterisk. But freedom's price whispered doubts. Elmwood had scarred. Yes, but also shaped. The fields where Micah taught him to drive stick. The diner booths harboring first, I love you, S over greasy fries. Maria's kitchen anthems of resilience. Leaving meant severing roots, trading small-town grit for urban pulse. What if we stay? Alex voiced the heresy, turning to Micah's gaze, hazel depths reflecting his own storm. Micah's smile crooked, that lopsided charm that first hooked him. We could fight the good fight here, make Elmwood bend. But his eyes held the horizon's pull, dreams of galleries for his sketches. Nights unworried by knocks. They talked till stars wheeled, possibilities branching like lightning, until Alex chose. Not flight, but bridge. Chicago summers, roots anchored deep. Spring unfurled tentative, dogwoods blushing pink against residual snow. Elmwoods thaw mirroring hearts. Jake returned to school, sidelined from ball but enrolled in group therapy. His nods to Alex in Hall's tentative olive branches. Harlan patrolled softer, badge tempered by humility, once even tipping hat to Micah at the pump. Human arcs bent slow, not toward perfection, but progress. Bigotry's embers banked, not extinguished. Raphael visited unannounced. SUV rumbling up Memorial Day Eve. Duffel lighter with ghosts. Barbecue smoke wreathed the trailer yard. Maria grilling ribs with Saison fire. Neighbors trickling in, cautious at first, then warming under the colonel's easy yarns of boot camp follies, sanitized for civvies. Micah manned the cooler. Beers cracked with deputies who'd once sneered, laughter bridging chasms. As dusk painted skies violet, Raphael pulled Alex aside, under the water tower's watchful eye. You chose your war, he said, pride gravel rough. Love's the toughest op. Alex hugged him fierce, the embrace lingering, years' absences compressed to forgiveness's balm. Join us sometime. No secrets. Dad chuckled, mustache twitching. Classified means surprises, Mijo. But yeah, I'll try. He met Micah's eyes across the yard. A nod sealing pact. Family expanded, bonds forged in fire. The romance, though, that was Alex and Micah's private symphony. Graduation night, caps tossed to firefly swarms. They slipped away to the quarry's rim, now a sanctuary rechristened. Blanket spread, stolen wine warming veins. Micah's sketchpad open to portraits. Alex laughing, fierce. Raphael saluting. Even Jake, shadowed but humanized. Art's truth, Micah said, lips brushing Alex's temple. Like us. Their kiss deepened there, under canopy of infinite, hands mapping familiar terrains. Not conquest, but communion, bodies speaking what words fumbled. No rush, no shadows. Just two boys, 17 and unbroken, weaving futures from threads of now. Summer hummed. Packing boxes amid goodbyes. Maria's tears joyful salt as she prepped for her own move. Aunt in the city beckoning. Jake's crew fractured, some allying unexpected. A GSA club sprouting tentative from fertile ground. Harlan's report cleared Raphael's shadow influence, but the cop's quiet donation to the center spoke louder. Amends in action, humanity's slow crawl. Fall found them in Chicago, Windy City's breath a whirlwind of firsts. Hand in hand through Millennium Park, Alex's bylines in campus rags, Micah's canvases hung in lofts. Dad visited quarterly, ops permitting, his stories filling gaps with laughter. Letters from Elmwood arrived seasonal. Jake's college scouts, tempered by growth. Harlan's promotion, earned clean. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by depth's resonance. Love not flawless, but faithful, weathering storms with adaptive grace. One eve, lakefront gales whipping, Alex traced Micah's jaw, gratitude thick. We made it. Micah grinned, pulling him close. Damn right, special forces of the heart. And in that, the humanistic close. No tidy bows, but lives laced with light. Flawed fathers redeemed. Small towns evolving, boys loving loud against the odds. Elmwood receded, not forgotten, but foundation. Chicago soared, wings borrowed from ghosts who taught them to fly. Raphael watched from afar, a sentinel smile, knowing his greatest mission thrived. In the end, it wasn't the mocking cop or the colonel's doorslam entry that defined them. It was the quiet revolutions, the hand held defiant, the story told unapologetic, the love that mocked back, louder, longer. America, in its vast, veined sprawl, held space for such tales. Dramatic, suspenseful, achingly romantic, profoundly human.